No, don't worry.
All right.
Yeah, my shoulder hurts.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
See, I'm tired.
Mm.
Hello,
Shalom.
shalom. How's everybody doing?
Shalom, Minister Sonia.
Interesting setup tonight.
It's
I like it though. Oh, is this the show?
okay. It's not hurt when you do that. Just blessings.
Hello, everybody. Come on in. Hopefully, you guys doing well. Guess we'll start with a quick prayer. May the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your heavenly sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Amen. Welcome, everybody. We are here, part of Servants of Christ, but we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And thankful to have on the Honorable Maya, who you can follow on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thanks for the month. I guess it's a new month.
Is December already?
Today's
December 1st? Oh, I'm late. Okay, I have to tell you. Hold on. Where's my phone? Oh, it's right there. Sheesh.
Thanks for the month of sheesh.
Well, no. The time is just like passed by so quickly. Like, it's hard to believe that it's already December again. So the tincture of the month is anxiety release. I guess it's just fitting. A lot of people have depression, anxiety this time of year. Shalom, everyone. Shalom, Elian. Why you get mad if someone says Vicky? I don't know. Yeah, so the tincture of the month for December is anxiety release.
There you go. Anxiety release.
Need some release, some tinctures, Sister Deja. All right, we got you. So tonight we're talking about restoring the nation of Israel. And, there's a lot to unpack. I'm learning. I'm, reading, like, everything. The Bible's kind of like opening up and becoming very real life, very, like, there's nothing new under the sun to me type of scriptures. A lot of, whoa, this is us, and this is what we've been talking about for thousands of years now. The same type of stuff. The same Black people need to get it together. Black people, we need to come together. We need to get it together. We need to do right. And it's just interesting to read in Deuteronomy 28, to read in Esdras and Ezra, and to see that they're talking to us, that the Lord is talking to us, that Ezra's talking to us, that these are just words that are coming directly as warnings, and as this is what happens. This is the issue. This is the war of the worlds type stuff. But here's the antidote. And so tonight we really want to talk about the antidote. What's the solution to rebuilding our nation? What's the solution to redeeming ourselves? What's the solution to restoring what was taken from us and getting it back? Because there was a lot that I guess we relinquished through our disobedience. So how, through our obedience and coming together like this, can we be restored? So that's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to need your help, because I am not as well studied as you, and those who have studied the Bible, this might be, not be as shocking to you as it has been to me lately, and just seeing the parallels between what we're going through today as a people, what we went through in chattel slavery, and how people are saying history is not important. Why do we keep talking about the issues, all this kind of stuff? And when you're building a legal case, you have to um, basically build your case. You have to set up to show how you were damaged, how what damages were put. You can't have reparations. You can't win a lawsuit or even settle a lawsuit without um, presenting your case and showing the damages, and they have to be presented as something that you can give here on earth as legal tender, as money, as land. You can't just say, oh, we deserve to be we deserve reparations. Like, why do you deserve reparations? What's your case? What's the history behind it that says we deserve reparations? What's the history behind it that says you have a nation? Because without a nation, you cannot have any type of reparations. You can't have any type of damages restored to you. You can't have a legal settlement without proving your case. And when you're going before nations, you can't go as an individual. You have to go as a nation. So, I don't know if you have anything to interject on that.
I mean, not really. I agree with everything you just said as far as nation building. The thing is once again, not to be our goal. Yes, sir. What's up?
What?
Baby.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so he'll be right back. So I wish I was more prepared. Let's see. Shalom, Ali. We'll wait for Pastor to come back. He was gonna say something. Oh, I got you, Minister Sonia. You want the tincture of the month for December? And thank you for that. So let's go to the Bible. It's usually a good place to start. Yeah, I was reading the Apocrypha today. Oh, thank you, Divine. Did your name used to be Tulips, right?
Yeah, that's Carrie, Sister Carrie.
Sister Carrie. Oh, okay, she changed her name to Divine Breed of Pain. Okay. Okay, Miss Sonia, got you. I was reading the Apocrypha today, for the first time actually, and beginning with the book of Ezra in the Bible, and then Ezra. Ezra. It's the same, the same prophet that's talking. They just changed his name because Ezra is the Greek form of the name Ezra. So they try to make it tricky. It's very tricky. People changing other people's names because people's names shouldn't change from language to language. But Ezra, and we're talking about how the guards were trying to become the right hand man of the king in order to restore the temple of Israel, in order to be made the right hand man of the king, the wisest man. And the three of them were saying, okay, we'll present our phrase, our statement to the king, and see who he thinks is the wisest. So the first man said that wine is the strongest. And then the second man said that the king is the strongest. And the third man said that women were the strongest and that truth was the strongest and would prevail. And so the king, was interested. Which king is this? Oh gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to think of his name starts with a D, like Darius. King Darius was intrigued and wanted to know what these men meant by their statements. So the first man explained that wine will basically equal men, will level the playing field, because people can act silly. Anybody who gets drunk and is inebriated is going to act silly, no matter if they're rich, they're poor, they're king, they're pauper. Doesn't matter. If they're drunk, they're gonna start acting crazy and doing things out of character. And so the wine is basically ruling over them. So he stated his piece, and nobody's really moved by that. The second man said that the king was the strongest because basically he could will people to do things at his discretion. If he wanted people to go to war, they go to war. If he wanted people to be at peace, they'd be at peace. If he wanted people to build, they build. If he wanted people to destroy, they would destroy, and so on and so on. So the king, at his discretion, could will the kingdom to do what he wanted it to do. So the second man said the king was the strongest, and people were, kind of like, okay, it seems like you're just trying to fly to the king, whatever. Nobody really got into that. So the third man said, the woman is the strongest. She is what will humble any man. That he's seen how the king uh, uh, kind of oogles this one woman, and how she slapped him before in front of everybody, and she took his crown and put it on her head, and how he was, if she laughs, he laughs. If she feels some kind of way, he feels some kind of way, and he wants to get back in her good graces. Anything for this woman. He'll leave his family and go, and have a love for his wife that he wouldn't have for his mother and his father. That he would do anything for his wife. And so a woman, in her seductive powers and and her um, basically elegance, and everything that a man is looking for. He doesn't care about wine. He doesn't care about riches. He could care less about gold. If he has a woman, he'll give all those things up. And then he went on to talk about truth. This third man was still talking. He was talking about women. Um, being powerful, and then he talked about the truth being the most powerful, and that the God, or the Elohim of truth, was most powerful of all, because the truth will always prevail. It'll be there forever. It's not gonna, and it will destroy things. It'll destroy anything that's unjust. The truth is always just. And so everybody was moved. The king got up and kissed him on the cheek and said, okay, you're it. You're the wisest man. What is it that you want from me? I'll give you anything. So this third wise man said, okay, you already said that you would make me your right hand man, but I also want you to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. So I just thought that was so interesting. Um, reading the Apocrypha, for me, this is like reading the Apocrypha is new for me. So it was just interesting to see what was being said. And I had the notion in my mind at some point that the Bible was a little bit too skewed toward men as being it. I know Pastor talks about wisdom in Proverbs as being a woman, and the Bible does talk about wisdom as being a woman. And then the Apocrypha just compounds that and says, okay, we recognize that women are it. That but right after God is a woman. We wouldn't be here except for a woman. We wouldn't be here except for God. The Most High. So yeah, that was kind of powerful to me, that even back then women were acknowledged as being the most powerful. Kind of, it was just interesting. That's in my readings today. But I was kind of stalling until you got back, because I didn't have my verses ready.
No, I mean, as far as nation building, that makes sense. Anyways, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's there just in those three examples, technically four, right? That really, if you're going to nation build, I'm not going to go in the. Well, I guess I can go in the order. Our people are prone when it says wine. Even when we talk about drunk off of wine, people are drunk off of so many different things, and all over the Bible and the Apocrypha, which is really the Bible. When I say the Bible, I'll be thinking about Chronicles. I'm sorry, Chronicles of Noah, Esdras, Maccabees, Tobit, the Apocrypha, um, uh, the Book of Enoch, so many different things. Like, so when people say the Bible, it depends, right? We're always talking about cultural perspective, and for a lot of people's cultural perspective, they go off of what everybody cut them off. We don't know the difference between the Alexandrian Bible and this Bible, Nicolaitan doctrine, Balaam doctrine, all these different things. But you know, uh, when you're talking about these things like wine, wine even in the Bible, a lot is talked about even a mindset, or even talked about something that can take you away from a mindset. It even discusses in the Bible, if you're going to create a community, if you will, or let's call it like this, if you're going to create a nation or a new wineskin, you can't fill an old wineskin with new wine. You'll burst it, right? You can't take an old way of thought process and try to put a new people with or a people with a new mindset, or really what was always should have been our mindset. You can't put that back in. You'll burst it. And so you have wine even of something that causes people to not be sober. But the interesting thing about wine is when Yashva makes wine, turns water into wine, his wine is so great that it actually takes those that are drunk off of the world's wine, and it actually causes the people to be sober again, and to recognize that the wine, they don't know he made it, but they keep coming to the person who was hosting the party and saying, wow, you brought out the great stuff at the end. And usually people give us the stuff that's great at the beginning, because after a while, you drink enough wine, you can't really tell. But they say something about this wine, it actually brought them out of a drunken stupor, right? And so the first thing that I praise Yah and the Holy Spirit for moving in my wife, because first thing she brings up is first things first. If we're going to build, we have to start having a wine that's so great and connects us back to a place where we can see clearly. And so it's like John chapter 3, verse 14 and 15, I believe, right before we always go to verse 16, that for Elohim so loved the cosmos, or his system, so much the world, that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. But go back 2 verses, and it talks about the same way Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Right. And so when you look at that, and he says, I'll draw him in. Go back to now the wilderness. What happened? The people of Israel got off track. We got drunk off of somebody else's stuff. We're so busy talking about, man, we should go back to Kemet, our captivity, because at least we had this there, at least we had that there, because now you got to do something for yourself. And so now all of a sudden, the people who are being delivered are talking smack and are constantly trying to go back to something that really was just killing you. You had no semblance of yourself. You remembered forms in your mind of like, yeah, Yahweh, I guess it was our Ardon, I guess it was the Elohim, but all we have now is the calf. All we have now is the frog. All the people that were dealt with in the 10 plagues, or all the 10 plagues, were actually against netchers. There was a netcher with the head of a frog, so that's why there were frogs that were dealt with. There was a netcher that was over the river, that's why it turned to blood. There was a netcher that was over the dust of the ground, right? That's why Moses strikes the dust and it becomes all the gadflies and stuff, or whatever they were. I think it was gadflies. There was a netcher that was over the sun. So now there's not going to be any sun for 3 days, right? Like it was, and nobody could ever stop it, right? Even if they repeated the first 2 through tricks, Janus and Jambres, they couldn't stop it, right? So there's got to be a wine that's given. So the same way in the wilderness, snakes come out and start biting the people. They're being poisoned. And now the same thing that's poisoning our people, the Most High puts it in the hand of his servant and says, look at this snake, and it will draw the poison. It will cure our ills. So we've been going through something systematically where we've been drunk off of, because we've been getting this modified version of what should be pure. But the pure wine, the pure word, the pure kingdom, the pure Yashadah, this pure comprehension, this pure culture will actually be the thing that draws the poison from us that's been killing us off. And if we think about it, we even have terms, winos and things like that. They've been prevalent in Native society, in Negro society, in African Americans, or whatever you want to call it, in Africa, some places, and things like that, where when you see us, even matter of fact, look at hip hop, what makes somebody distinguished, can you pop down? You got, I don't even know all the terms. I don't be drinking like that, but, bottles of Don, what's Puffy's stuff, whatever it is.
Oh gosh, Ciroc or
Ciroc, all that, how many bottles you got, even if it's cheaper stuff, beer or whatever, you got Heineken, you got what's that thing I used to drink? Everybody puts a lemon and lime in it. Corona, all this different stuff. Like everybody got to be popping this, doing this. At least have this. You got to drink this. Heck, poor folk, had 211 Steel Reserve tearing up your stomach, but drinking this and that was make you black and stuff like that in the hood. Foolishness. So if we get back to the pure wine, it actually takes that that need from our lips, and it causes us to be poisoned. Then next, if we're going to kingdom build, what does it mention then? It says, well, the king is the strongest, and we have a lack of kings. Now we come from a lineage of kings, but we're so drunk that we don't act like kings. So how do you act like something? And like my wife was saying, when you go to court, when you do this, they're not necessarily always looking for, once again, even though land is something that's nice to talk about, but they're not looking at where you're from. They're looking at who you're from. And so we're so drunk that we don't even think about who we're from. We think about bottle to bottle, or we think from job to job, or we think from nice outfit to nice outfit, or we don't even think of chemise, or our own natural remedies, our hair, our tinctures, our clothings, our tunics are there. We're looking for everything else that has everybody else's names. We're not looking for tassels. We're not looking for fringes.
Looking
we're not
for
looking
Egypt
for,
again.
yeah, we're looking to go back into the land of our captivity, and we're okay with it. We say we're not, but we really are. So we have to build things that make kings virtuous again, if you will, make kings something that represents something greater than themselves, make it possible for people to become kings, because a lot of people that would be comfortable becoming kings, they're actually going off of a culture or a system that makes them feel like they shouldn't be comfortable. You shouldn't be comfortable out there, or what you a hustler or whatever, but why wouldn't you hustle for the kingdom, right? Like why wouldn't you hustle? Why would we come on here every day with a message? Why wouldn't we make sure that we calling people every day? Why wouldn't you create a tincture, every day or something? Why wouldn't you forage? Why wouldn't you hustle for yourself, right? And then after that, then it says, what's the most powerful thing? Well, the most powerful thing is a woman, right? If we get off of we have our sisters drunk off of certain things, including our sisters don't feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but our sisters don't feel secure. So like, if
Definitely
you
don't feel like the standard.
and definitely don't feel like the standard, so you get drunk off of something else. Okay, let me get drunk off of getting the plastic surgery. Let me get drunk off of lightening my skin. Let me get drunk off of, well, I'll go to school and I'll get, and our sisters have more degrees than everybody else. As far as, if you want to compare, I don't care if you want to go to Asian community. I know Asian community is vast. I'm just using these catch-all terms: Asian community, Indian community, Native American community, colonial construct, white community, black community, whatever. Like, our sisters go out there, but still, after trying to get drunk off of this, get this position, get this title. Okay, I got my own bread. I don't need no man now. I don't need this. I can take care of my own children, blah, blah. Like, there's still something to where it's like, but where is her rightful place to be on the throne? As the person gave the example to King Darius, like, this sister can make or break you. And so if my wife can make or break me, then I have to make sure that she's put in a place to where she makes me. And I can't be mad if I've set up a community, or I've set up a culture, or I've set up a household to where everything is designed for her to tear me down. Like, we don't think about it. Like, even the word house in Hebrew is the word family, right? So a foundation holds the family on top of himself. So a foundation means that my wife should be able to come on here. She shouldn't have to come on here and feel like, oh, I have to be the end all be all of all knowledge. And my wife is very knowledgeable. I'm not even saying that, right? My wife, you guys know, if you've seen her talk about stuff as far as the spirit to the physical manifestation, plenty of different things that she corrects me on. And the way that we run SOC is mostly the way we're set up is because of things that she suggested heavily for years before. In all honesty, if I'll be honest, before I started really listening the way I should have. So we should have been leap years ahead, in all honesty. However, she should never have to come out and not feel like she is a standard. Like, my wife is a standard. It blesses me when people say, oh, I love it when your wife says this, or the way you talk about her, or the way that she comes out and presents herself, or how she speaks certain things, or how she speaks life, or how she teaches us how to eat and different things like that. Like, that's because, like, she should be a standard. Our sisters should be the standard. And so when we realize that that's there, it's interesting. Now that we've gotten drunk, stop being drunk off of foolishness, and we become
brands.
kings that we're supposed to, we become queens like we're supposed to. Now what's the last part? Truth. Like, now we can actually deal. We can't even deal with truth. We can't even build a true nation because we're still drunk off of foolishness. We're still not kings. We're still not queens. You put those things. Willie Lynch said that in the Willie Lynch letter. He said there's going to be an anomaly. He said the only thing that he had researchers and everything. He said the only thing we've been able to come up with that can cause people to come back to cause us to come back to our knowledge of ourselves. He said is if they ever come into something tangible about who they are. And he said if they ever get smart enough to come back into switching roles, right? Basically, our brothers are taught to act like white women. Our sisters are taught to act like white men. He said if they ever come back into who they are, and he even used the term in their nature. He said if they ever come back to their natural selves, he said it's over. He said like what we have over them, it's over. If they ever stop seeing value in us first and see values in them, and not just them, but them being in their positions, not being drunk off of anybody else. If anybody's wine they're going to drink their own. And they're going to drink really not their own, but the one the Most High made in his nature, which is not designed to be able to have us be killed, right? With all this, 80% proof craziness is coming out now, but to actually drink what in nature, right, so to speak, or even drink the word, if you will, then he said that's what's going to cause us to go back to who we are. So it's very apropos that that's what the Holy Spirit put upon your heart, because like you're dealing with not being drunk off the system, creating this system in which men can feel confident and not just be men or even little boys, but become kings, and be in the system where sisters should be queens. And as you said, when we look at ourselves, the truth, when you look all over the word, like you don't go to war in Judges unless you have Deborah. That's a queen. That's a female. Sorry, that's I was about to say female. That's a woman. Sometimes you have to declare female because you know all this other stuff that comes out. But that's a sister. That's a strong sister who's making sure that she's leading and charging and stuff. And so some of the greatest warriors that you hear about, they're like, oh no, unless a sister blesses it, like we're not going. And that's something that's been constant, consistent in our community. Even in other societies, the Greeks started off somewhat better than what they became. Like Spartans didn't go to war unless sisters said we'll bankroll it. Like if they didn't say it was okay, the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois nation, they might have had male chiefs, but it was the sisters that had to vote the chiefs in. If the sisters didn't vote the chiefs in, then no. In Africa, you had sisters that sat on what was called the golden chair. Now, she wasn't the chief, she wasn't the king, but she was the one that sat on the golden chair. Whoever that was that sat in the golden chair, she was the one that authorized the next king to be in position. So if something happened to the king, then it was her, and she was also had power as well. But she was the one that said, okay, I will choose and say if it's acceptable for whoever to step into power. And until then, she was trusted to be like a mother of the community. So we never had, until we stopped being a people and we started dealing with other people, we never had a problem being like, yeah, okay, like so and so's gonna lead us. She's gonna tell us what to do. She's gonna be our mother. Matter of fact, the term woman, asha, in our culture is a term of endearment. Now you hear somebody say woman, we think that's a bad thing, but woman was a term of endearment. Yahshua called his mother woman when she said turn the water to wine. Same thing we talked about earlier. He said woman. He was saying woman. Like mother. It's not my time yet. And then guess what she did? She said, I don't even care about all that. Hey, whatever he tells you to do, do what he says. In other words, like he told me his mother, he's not going to do it. No, I'm his mother. I know he's the Messiah, but I'm his mama. And I want him to make sure that y'all wedding doesn't look bad. Whatever he says, do. And that's why he performed the miracle of turning water to wine. He didn't even want to do it. He said, it's not even time for me to do it. But because his mother said, this is what you're going to do, he had to honor it. So we as a people really never, I won't say never had a problem. Obviously there's,
well, right now it seems like there's it seems like back in different times, we've been considered wicked, and that's like we wouldn't consider ourselves wicked because we're very connected to the spirit. American, like as a people, we're usually very spiritual, very connected. But it seems like there's been times in history, now included, where we have been kind of disconnected through wickedness. And wickedness is not even a term that's like outdated even in today's society. Like the bad is considered good. Like people talk about being wicked, and people are like, oh, that's great. Like you go to the store and you see brands with wicked written on it. You see all this wickedness. Mickey, a pastor was showing me a video last night where a guy had a Mickey.
Brother Thomas actually sent us a video this rising.
Oh, okay, so brother.
I'm saying he saw it. Apparently,
saw
it
it too.
Around. No.
So the guy was talking about how in the 80s everybody had the Mickey Mouse mugs, and Mickey, if you flip it upside down in the font they use, if you're looking at your cup of coffee or whatever you're drinking from the mug, you see the reflection wicked. So Mickey, the reflection of it inverted is wicked. And so it's trying to uphold this wickedness that keeps us in bondage. Like the only thing that's keeping us in bondage is the wickedness, is not turning from the ways, not being in right legal standing. Like we were cursed for not being in right legal standing. We still pay the price today. You can look at our communities, look at how run down things are from wickedness, and it's wickedness through ignorance, not knowing who we are, not knowing what we should be doing, and then some of us knowing what we should be doing and not doing it.
And we're looking for something.
Like today, I'm probably disobedient. I saw a little girl, like, we went to the playground, and over here in the playground they had set up Christmas lights for the first time, and they had elves and Santa Claus and fairies and all sorts of stuff walking around. And Solomon did what he was supposed to do. A fairy tried to approach him, and he was like, get away from me. Like, not today. He was like, quick, like, don't come over here. And so she like turned her little wand and walked off or whatever. But I saw this little black girl, I think she was like Ethiopian, and she was singing jingle bells to these people. So these fairies and people who were sitting around being entertained by this little black girl singing jingle bells. And I didn't say anything. I just watched it. And I now in hindsight, I probably should have said, why are you singing that? Do you know what it means? And at least try to interject something, not just stand there and watch it. Like, I didn't know that whole scene was just like weird to me.
Well, and sometimes there's so much wickedness that is hard, and that and this is why, like, we talk about marriage and men and women so much on here. Like, what do well, I guess we could ask you guys too, but I have my wife here today, so I don't have to ask somewhat rhetorically, I guess. But like, in our community, the most, or let me just say it like this: the most important thing to protect, I think, in our community, which I don't think we think about at all, because we don't think about what happened, the spirit manifesting into the flesh, and all this stuff happened. But the most important commodity in our community is actually probably, well, I wouldn't say probably, the most, besides the Most High, of course, obviously, but the most important thing to protect in our community is the womb. And like, whatever is going into the womb man is what's really coming out, and we don't speak on that, but like, it's the womb. Think about how many fibroid cysts and things like that are going on. Not protecting the womb,
abortions, education. Like,
education.
Someone told my mom said today, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Like, get them young, and you don't have to worry about the rest.
Well, think about even like language. They've had tests that have come out, that have been coming out recently. I didn't know how in depth they had tested this. However, they had tests where they showed babies who were born, and they showed a baby whose native language was English, right? And they had a speaker speaking next to the baby. They had to speak in English, and they had to speak, and I forget what the other language was. So they had to speak in multiple languages. The baby's heart rate and everything would go down, and the baby's mannerisms, everything would stay very, subdued when you had the speaker speak another language. When they heard the language, even if it wasn't the voice of the mother, when they heard the language of of the parent that they heard in the womb, they had a reaction. Even their heart rate went up, their body would react, their facial expressions would change, because they know that language, they know what they were receiving from in the womb. And even the womb is a garden, and even in the word garden, we've talked about this before, even in the word garden is the word guard. Even in Hebrew, when you talk about the Garden of Eden, Eden is a place, but then there's a garden within Eden. Even and so the garden was a guarded place where the presence of the Most High was going to be. So like, the womb is the most important, which means that the womb man is the number one commodity, because the womb man is the seat of princes. It's the seat of those who will become queens, the seat of those that will become kings, the seat of those that will become. And so we're not protecting. When we don't protect the womb man, we don't protect the womb. When we don't protect the womb, we don't protect the man. We don't protect the man, right? Like, we say this all the time. Yeah, men, we can be honest, like, men are killed off at a higher rate, even in crib death, things like that. So spiritually, there's something going on against our men, sure. But if it's not for the womb man, like, there is no man. So we could say reverse, sure. That's why neither one is greater than the other, because if there's not Adam, then there's no woman, sure. But I'm saying, we as a society, the thing that needs to be secure, not the thing, excuse me, the person who needs to be protected. But I'm just saying, the number one noun, if you will, I don't know what word to use, but the number one protecting thing should be the womb man. And if the womb man once again feels secure, that's the number one need of our woman. Then what happens? She respects the man, and he gets into this place that you're saying that you need anyway. So now by doing this, it automatically affects this, right? And the Most High has created us to where one can't function without the other. And the children, right? If the hearts of the fathers have to return to the children, Malachi 4:6, if the hearts of the fathers have to return to the children, the hearts of the children have to return to the fathers. You can't have the hearts of the fathers return to children that don't come through the womb. So we even in nation building, and other cultures get this. What is it called? Gentrification. When you go somewhere and you're like, wait a minute, how did this become a white neighborhood? Like 5 years ago, this was a black neighborhood. What happened? Like, go back in your mind and start thinking. Did you see things that were attractive to the woman for those people coming in? Like, did you see a Starbucks? Did you see um, uh, um, did you see a place that community likes to go shopping? Did you see a place to where they like to shop for clothes, shop for food? Did you see the mall all of a sudden change? Did you see a mall pop up out of nowhere? Did you see a mall that became a town center? That's a new one, right? The town center. Like, there's certain things they're doing to where they say the woman is going to be something that she needs to feel secure everywhere she goes for whatever race, if you will, that's coming through. And then once that's there, the men are going to do what's necessary. Even if the men are just trying to cash grab, they know that, hey, other men are going to pay for what makes the woman feel secure, and what the woman will feel secure also if her babies are taken care of. So they're going to make sure that things are attractive in their culture towards their children. And so now you're dealing with generational wealth. The children's children are already being planned for. That means that the womb man and the womb of the woman automatically has to be protected. And now that you even see what they're doing with what was that, the abortion thing or whatever recently, Roe versus Wade, when you see them doing that, repelling that, right, and going back. Why are they going back and saying, oh, we're going to make it illegal? Why? Because they saw that they're not having babies out of the womb. So how do you protect that? You protect the womb, right? They thought there was money to be made, but they realized they're not making as much, or they're losing themselves. So you protect, what comes out the womb.
The target's being missed. We're the target. Like, suppressing our wombs, suppressing, because if the fruit of our womb is the reward to the Most High, then to suppress it keeps us out of covenant, keeps us in a legal standing.
That was so the reward to suppress the womb is suppressing the reward of the Most High.
Yeah. So suppressing the womb of the chosen people is suppressing the reward of the Most High, and it's keeping us in an illegal standing with the Most High. It's keeping us in that child sacrifice, a voluntary child sacrifice. I was talking to someone the other day about hospitals being probably a place where they sacrifice people, and it's like we voluntarily go and we voluntarily sign waivers, and it's like people only look at it from the physical standpoint, like, oh, the hospital is a place just to go get well. I think those wicked and high places have set up institutions to keep their system going through the wickedness. So being sacrificed at a hospital, being sacrificed at an abortion clinic, and then making it seem like it's a medical procedure.
Like there's sisters that you told me about, examples where she hit me to it, and I started studying, where it's like, people go in the hospital, they're getting ready to have a baby. Next thing you know, they wake up, their legs and arms are missing,
or they're missing,
or they're missing, or like babies have gone missing, or obviously, like whenever they cut your umbilical cord and stuff, and they're keeping that afterbirth of the placenta, and they're keeping it or whatever, they're using it, they're feeding it to people, they're using it as medication, but your baby's supposed to eat off that, but we don't protect we don't even think, we're in a position where we don't even think twice about protecting the womb man, and that's number one in any nation building. I was born from a woman, even though, yes, my father's seed was there, and he took care of his wife, and he took care of us, and he took care of her during her pregnancy, right? But I'm saying, like, I was born of a woman. I ate my first meal in the womb. My first meal in the womb and out of the womb was because of a woman. The first person to tell me, "Oh, look at my little man, he's so cute and stuff," that was a woman. My mother has passed, for 20 years or so, and I'd say this all the time. I wish I could hear, the voice of that woman.
Wow. I'm looking at some of the comments. Elian said their tactics won't work. The only thing that their tactics are doing is keeping us up here, because the physical stuff, we've been overcoming that through through the grace of the Most High. But in order for us to get in righteous legal standing, be restored, for our neighborhoods to be the most beautiful, for our neighbors to be beautiful, and for our children to be safe, and all these things like that, for us to be restored to our rightful legal standing, and to our rightful place as the people of the Most High, we have to get in right legal standing up here and start doing righteously with through our lives. And so, yeah, their tactics aren't working. The only thing that's working with their tactics is keeping us um, in their bondage, in their Egypt, in their in that mental slavery. Without us voluntarily going into it, they can't keep it going. Their system is based on our volition, on our voluntarily being wicked, even if we know it or not. When we involve ourselves in the different practices that they do to maintain their system, to maintain the evil, the sacrifices and things like that. Having our children walk around singing jingle bells. If we go back to that, jingle bells was not associated, was a drinking song, was originally a drinking song that was associated with Thanksgiving. And then it became associated with Christmas here in America. So it has like a very like sordid past. It has nothing to do with us. Actually, it has to do with our destruction. Singing and drinking and having a little child shuck and jive for some people at the playground today was like I don't know. It was kind of cringeworthy to watch her singing jingle bells and be so happy. And
yeah, it reminds me one of the things. I'm sorry.
well, the people were gathered around her and just so happy to see her. Like she submitted to their ideals. She's basically singing and singing a drinking song to her own destruction.
No, I was just saying. Yeah, well, I agree with that. I was saying one of the things that really caught our eye on our way out of the church, we were actually kind of already, 1 foot out, but trying to kind of help a little bit as we were, and there was a whole Christmas thing, and there was a little boy who, we had, still have high hopes for, but like we saw a lot of, great value in him, put it like that, and he stands up during the service and everything, and they start talking about Santa Claus and this and that, and then they start having anybody like, what do you want to say, or any songs you want to sing, and he starts singing Santa Claus is coming to town, and that was just kind of like
I looked over at you and I was like, oh my. Yeah. I was like, are we really singing Santa Claus is coming to town in a church? Like, is this what we're doing? Like, the Christ being the reason for the season, but we're singing to the pagan god right now in church. It was like just things like that. Like, and I'm like, we are like voluntarily involving ourselves in wickedness. Like this baby, he didn't know. He's probably like 7. I think he was 7 at the time, or 8.
6. Yeah, maybe he's like 1 year older than Solomon.
So okay, so maybe he was 6 at the time. 6, yeah. And he's singing Santa Claus coming to town, and we're all like, standing there watching, and some people clapping him along and cheering him along as we, celebrate around a big Christmas tree inside of a church, and it was just a lot. That's just a lot.
Yeah, and it just is, and so that's like I said, like that's it's that voluntary thing, and once again, like protecting, like that's something that, and to be honest, his my wife has said this before, his mother knew better. Like, because I tried in my mind to be like, well, maybe, but she had been talking about Israel for a while. She had been asking questions. She was trying to learn stuff about Hebrew characters, things like that. So it was more important though to be like, oh, this is cute, than it is to actually, and this is something, like as little, to be righteous. And little boys, this is something that we have to learn more, and we should have our and really think about it. The mother didn't feel like maybe she should have, like maybe if, and this is once again, I was there, I could have easily now, it probably, the way the church is set up, maybe it wasn't the play, but I could have easily, said to the little boy right after,
I know you should stop playing.
When they started doing the song, I was on the piano, so we were doing service, and when he started singing it, I immediately stopped playing, because I'm like, I'm not going to tell him that this is okay or whatever, but like it, there's things that are going on like that over and over and over again. And think about, once again, like the womb man, the woman, like the and what comes out of her womb, should be so secure to where when we're nation building, when we're coming together, when we're on land, when we're doing stuff virtually, when we're speaking our own language, when we're saying stuff, Barak Allah, I'm sorry, Barak Allah, Barak Allah Sham Yahava, right? Or the blessing of the Most High, or the blessing be upon thee in the name of the Most High, like things like that. Like when we're speaking our culture, when we're speaking Barashat instead of Genesis, when we're speaking Shemot instead of Exodus, right? When we're speaking Tehillim instead of Psalms, like different things. Like when we're learning our culture, we're saying Yashra instead of Yesus, half man, half Zeus. When we start speaking those things, declaring those things, it separates us. And now you get into a place like my wife was saying earlier. Now, even though we're not necessarily looking for you to repair us, so to speak, with reparations, we at the same time, when we get our own and when we have our own, now we have a standard, and we've been missing that. Like people have built nations before, but if you took away the skin color, you really wouldn't see too much difference in between what somebody else was doing and what you were doing. So when you think of Tulsa, one of the problems with Tulsa is that you were still trying to engage with people that wanted to kill you. Lo and behold, they kill you off. When you're dealing with Rosewood, you were acting like them. Lo and behold, they kill you off. When you're talking about Wilmington, North Carolina, you were acting like them. Lo and behold, you die from what it is that you're doing. We talked about this earlier today, Psalm 130, where it talks about how we have to make sure that we are not. What was it saying? I don't remember. Well, in Psalm 130. 130th division of Psalm we were speaking today about, and it was telling us how basically we have to get back to self, and how we have to stop being disobedient, following all these different laws, and being our souls even being under attack. I've been using this terminology quite often recently. Like, what is the soul of a nation? What is the soul of Israel? What is the psychology? What is the nachavash, as we were talking about today? What does that look like? Literally the soul, the characters, Nun, He, Vav, Sheen, talking about what perfects us is coming through the Holy Spirit, something that's nailed us in place as a family, that we might not be destroyed, or that we might be able to destroy certain things that shouldn't be on us. Like that's what your soul, your psychology, your psyche in the Greek, Psyche, literally meaning soul. That's what we should be looking at, and we're not, and we don't know enough about our soul. We have psychologists out there who are proficient at studying our soul, so they can tell you more about your melanin than you can.
Mm-hmm.
They can tell you the value in eating healthy more so than you do. They can tell you more about your fufu than you can. Some people, fufu, what does that taste like? It doesn't have a taste. Not supposed to. It's supposed to take on the taste, but we just like, or
make me hungry.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're both hungry. So, but like, or even when well, I won't keep going to eating analogies, but just things like there's that we should have something that's ours, and whenever we're creating this, that's what we need to start looking at. Even our Aishah, or our woman, our wound man, what is done to protect her. And this is why people get upset with us and frustrated, but I always have to roll with my wife, and with our sisters, our women, our daughters, our mothers, grandmothers, aunts, etc. If they say they're not comfortable with somebody else telling you that all women are women, then we should have a community that protects that. If they tell us, hey, we're not comfortable with submitting to anything, we're not in submission, we're in submission, where's your mission? We should give them a mission. If they tell us, like, hey, if they ask us, hey babe, what you thinking, and our answer is nothing, then we shouldn't be upset when they say, well, you good for nothing. I mean, I'm just saying, like, we have to start thinking society wise. Like, if we start operating in that way, and we start, once again, stop being drunk off of somebody else and honor kings, queens, and truth, you start thinking about things completely different. So when we start talking about community building, when we start talking about trading seed, when we start talking about like something simple, like helping each other out in business. I've said this plenty of times. We have so many businesses just in SOC, so many businesses that are going on. If we just decided to stop spending money anywhere else and only getting stuff from SOC, you'd be surprised how many of y'all would be not be worried about a 9 to 5 anymore. I'm not trying to say quit or anything. What I'm trying to say is you wouldn't be concerned about it, because like you got medicine right here, tinctures. right? Even at one point, even syrup, stuff like that, copper cups, all types of stuff. Like, we got tassels and stuff that are about to start coming up. You have people that do T-shirts. You have people that do shea butter. You have people that do massage therapy. You have people that do healing. You have people that do prayer stuff, build homes, HVAC stuff. I mean, if we really wanted to, even without living together on a particular land, we could already be taking care of each other. Then you start doing that. Well, out of what we're doing, you just put some of that in the pot. The stuff we've been trying to come up with the fundraise, even though fundraising is always great, not even necessary anymore, because you have raised up a community based off of protecting the womb of your society. And out of Israel, because Israel are supposed to be the wife of the Most High, which means we must protect what comes out of our own womb and what goes in. So there have been people who have been aborting what Israel should be giving birth to for generations now. There have been people that have been reaching in our womb, and we've been going to see them at Planned Parenthood. Interestingly enough, we've been going to people who plan your parenthood by killing that which you were supposed to birth. And the same thing's been happening on a spiritual level for Israel for quite some time. When we create, you create the filament, or you create the light bulb, and somebody tells you, oh, give it to Edison. I went to Thomas Edison High School, and not one time did anybody the whole time say, and all this stuff, he just patented stuff. He didn't create anything. But in my mind, we protected him as a great inventor, but we didn't even think, well, what about ourselves? What about our ancestors? So out of our own womb, even though it's something that was kind of detrimental, but something like the cotton gin, that wasn't made by a slave master that didn't care whether or not you got hurt by cotton, because picking cotton hurts. If you've never picked it, like, picking cotton actually hurt. I've done it like once in my life. Like, it hurts. I can't even imagine what, I know I'm blessed to be where I am now. I must have been made for this thing, because I know I don't have it in me to be sitting out there in the hot sun picking cotton all day, bleeding and stuff and stuff like that. Like, I know. I'm glad that there were ancestors that did that for me. They needed to be there so that we could go ahead and make it through. So their strength and their knowledge of picking cotton, I'm glad that they had more knowledge in that to get me where I am than I might have of the Bible. So I'm glad, like Dr. Lay Africa teaches about that, how you'll say somebody can't read, but in your society, somebody that can't read a book might be able to read a seed, and we don't even think about that. Like, in nation building, let's stop worrying about everybody has to look like what our ideology is. Like, there's somebody out there that can read a house, and they can read it so well that they can write out. They might not even be able to write words on it, but they can write a blueprint. They can eyeball. There's somebody out there that can. We ran into a sister when we went to Ghana, and she literally was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make clothes for you guys. And then she just asked questions about, she's like how big is your son? And so my wife goes, well, he's about, blah blah. Okay, no problem. She said, give me a couple days. 2.5 days later, she comes back and she's got several outfits for all of us. And my son's not even with us, and yet had perfect stuff where he wore it for years. Stuff is still fine, great, vibrant. The color hasn't gone anywhere.
The color hasn't changed at all from when they handed it to us to now. The texture of the material has not changed. Like, when they make clothes, when they made those clothes in Ghana, like, they are such quality clothing. They just, they look the same, they feel the same. Everything, they didn't shrink, they didn't change, nothing at all. Like, we may have changed, but they didn't change.
And somebody might tell you that she's not as advanced.
Oh, please.
But you can't be non-advanced and do what she
did.
The
next day, like, I thought.
Oh yeah, she actually came back with certain things for her. Actually, I guess for me too. I think
it was the next day or 2 days. Like,
it was 2.5 days with everything.
It was like multiple outfits. So they made matching outfits for me and Kofi, because that's what they do in their culture. The husband and the wife wears the same thing when they dress up, and then for our child, I just, like he said, I described his height or whatever, and she saw a picture of him and she was like, okay, I got it. And I thought, oh, it's just gonna be whatever. And she came with shorts that were similar to his father's, made in children's size.
Stuff you can't pay for.
Yeah, you can. Oh no,
you can't pay for.
And she asked me just to give her $10 for the fabric, for the stuff. That was 10 American dollars.
And we gave her more, of course, but
yeah, that was it.
So it's like, so in that nation building, when we get to ourselves, there's nothing that we can't do. There's nothing we can't come up with. There's nothing that our sisters can't do. Our brothers can't do. We're queens and kings. We're of of the Most High. And as my wife has been articulating a lot recently, and I'm glad she has, we're trendsetters. We set the trend. I know some of you, even in your videos, have been saying that a lot. We're trendsetters. So um, we need to set a trend that looks like us, and it's okay. As much as people want to tell you it's not, it's okay to set a trend that's just for us. And that's the thing that people don't like. Hey, that Holocaust thing. Well, that's a Holocaust, right? But it's okay for us to say, look at what you did over here for thousands of years. If you don't want to give us that, hundreds of years, right? Look at it, and it's okay for us to say we're kind of done with that trend. We set the trend, and like my wife said, really, what she said that was really powerful. She set the trend, or we, excuse me. She was talking about basically. I'm rephrasing your words a little bit, but we signed up for it. So in essence, we set the trend to allow it to happen. So why not sign off of it, or why not use this UCC 1-308, so to speak, and say, you know what, that's not who we are. We don't need that, and we're not looking for that.
It's only our people that say that exclusivity is a bad thing. Like nobody else says, like when you're talking about Chinese medicine, you better say Chinese medicine or else people will get offended, But if you say it's, one of our practices, anything that is attached to our people becomes like a grab all. And if it's not, even within our own people, they're like, well, why aren't you opening up to everybody else?
Right.
It's just urban culture. It's just this. Our hairstyles are just are for everyone. Our everything is for everyone. And no, our things are for our community, for those by blood, and for those who are grafted in, those who have proven themselves to be a part of our community. And
like, there's no problem. Like if you go into a Chinese food restaurant, you never heard anybody talk about why is it got to be Chinese. There's no problem if you go into a Greek place. You try to get is it a hero or a gyro?
Gyro.
You gonna get a gyro or whatever. Nobody's like, why are you going into a Greek place and eating Greek food? If you try to go into a place where you're trying to get Italian food, nobody says, why are you sitting up there eating something that's just that's Italian culture and it's Italian owned. But let a black person put on a window, black owned, and people lose their mind. Like it'll be on Fox News, and it'll be on CNN sometimes, and you're like, how in the world this person just put on there what it is? It's like there's nothing. Like if I go to a place and it says this is kosher, kosher, everything in this restaurant is kosher. Guess what I do in my mind? I go, oh, this is probably Jewish owned, even as though it should be sometimes Israelite owned. But in my mind, I'll be honest with you, like I think, oh, okay, this is probably Jewish owned. Like I got it, no problem. And when I go in there, I expect to be treated how Jewish people treat me. I expect to honor what Jewish people do. I don't come in there talking about, can I get some pork? Like this should be for everybody. It's like, no, if I go in here, this is what they do. This is what they eat. Even if I feel like the culture is, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, even if I feel that way, right. I'll still honor and be like, okay, I know what time it is. If I go in an Italian place or whatever, like I'm not gonna be sitting up there talking about, hey, can you give me some marinara sauce that doesn't have any pork in it? Like I'm probably not gonna have a marinara sauce because it's probably gonna have some pork in it. That's the way to get down. If they have something in there that says all beef, that's great, but probably not. If I go into a Chinese place or whatever, I know even sometimes to ask them, like instead of the stuff that they got on the menu, sometimes they'd be like, hey, do you have vegetables that aren't on the menu? And sometimes they look at you and they'd be like, what do you mean? And I'd be like, the stuff you eat, because they don't eat what you eat. No, but guess what? They'll actually kind of be surprised, be like, oh, okay, well, we have sprouts and we have this and blah, blah. Do you want, we'll have to charge you, blah, blah. Yeah, no problem. Like, charge me. But I want that. I don't want what you give us, because what you give us kills. And I don't want you, well, can I get a chicken wing or whatever? Like, I don't need you to get, like, we make chicken wings. Like, we make fried food. Like, and fried food ain't always the greatest to have every night anyway. So, but I can go somewhere else and support someone else. But if I come here, I'm looking for your stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't believe, not all marinara has pork. You have to specify, Minister.
Oh, sorry.
But there's a lot of stuff out there that has pork. If it says gelatin, like right now, I'm really doing my best to eat as clean as possible in terms of our legal standing, because I'm like, eating some pork gelatin or eating some pepperoni is not worth my, not worth me not being in legal standing. Like if I know who I am and I know what that comes with and the rewards that are going to come with it, I can't be trading diamonds for bubble gum. I did that when I was in kindergarten. Literally, I traded a gold ring for a little plastic butterfly clip that broke the next day. And when I wanted to go get my ring back, the girl was like, "No, I don't have this ring." She traded me a butterfly clip for a golden ring that a family friend had given me, and I couldn't get it back. I couldn't get it back because I was silly enough to want to fit in.
Traded a birthright for a bowl of porridge.
Traded a birthright for a bowl of porridge. Traded a gift from a loved one for a plastic clip to fit in. So
because somebody told you the value of it was the same.
Because I thought I felt the value was the same because I was amongst. I wasn't amongst my people. I was in kindergarten in a public
had
school.
Somebody in her family been there.
Yeah,
her people. Somebody was saying, "Oh no!" And even if you think about it, we do it in ways, anyways, right? Like you'll see a guy. There's a joke by Dave Chappelle. He says, like, you can't tell a black person about the law. I think it's from Killing Them Softly for the '90s. He's like, we are black people are certified paralegals, and he goes, if you try to commit a crime, he's like an old N-word to jump out of the bush and be like, no, don't do that N-word. That's 9 to 10 or that's 5 to 10, right? But it's true. Like we know the law. Like like black people, okay, speed limit, so if I get caught, been caught a couple times, whatever, you get caught, like you can't act like it, like we know, like they know that we know a lot of stuff, like because we get caught up on it so much, but when you're around your people, the laws that should be for our people, those are some of the things that we don't know and we don't call out. That's why even just doing what we're doing tonight and what we do often virtually, even, it's a great start because we need to have a constant reminder. We were fit. Like every day you went to school. What was that? That was see, we thought school was go get a job. No, school was a constant reminder. This is the culture. This is what you're going to do. This is how much you got a job out. This is how you become a debt slave. This is how you get into credit debt.
This is how we keep your people down.
Right. Like, yeah. And this is your place. I was watching somebody today on TikTok. I think, I don't know if Brother Vincent's still on. I think you did a duet with him and I looked off of your duet and watched his video. And it was like a 3-minute video, one of those. And he was talking about how he basically had started a company. He had taken it from $0, so basically from nothing to $20,000 a month in 3 months. He had no IT knowledge and somehow, some way was able to make all the front end stuff and back end stuff work like in the first, or maybe all the front end stuff. So that meant he had to have his back end together, but he was able to get all that stuff together in like the first 3 weeks. And he said he was going around and he had met maybe in the last 3 weeks, from 40 to 50 different people to help him to fundraise. And he kept asking them at the end of each meeting, what is something that would prevent him from being able to get money to be able to do what he's doing in the system. He's already embedded himself and partnered with all these million dollar corporations and stuff. And they would always come back to him and basically saying he didn't look the part. And also they were honest with him. Some of them said the color of his skin. They said, what's going to prevent you from getting to the next level is the color of your skin. And so it comes to a place where it's like, are we going to keep looking for that system? That system works fine, but it doesn't work for you. And are we going to keep trying to think that we're going to work in a system that asks you to job or to toil? Or are we going to say there's a system that we need to see? In their system, they don't job, they work. You know what I'm saying? Like in their system, you're supposed to job. They work, but in your system, you need to work.
You feel their system, just like in the Matrix. You are the power, the tool that keeps the battery, the foundation that keeps their system running. Like your oppression keeps the system running. You being in illegal standing keeps that system.
That's what running. I was looking for earlier. Psalm 130, the 11th step. We'll be talking about that today. It says that people, it's either Psalm 130 or Psalm 129. Forgive me, one of those. I think it's Psalm 130, where it says that they literally, it uses the term. It talks about how they actually basically set grooves or sowed seed and set all the things for the seed to go into, and even cultivated the ground on your back. You literally using that term, how they came on your back. And so think of when he said it, it was painful for me to read because it was like, what went through my mind? I thought of like the push lawnmowers and somebody putting it on your back.
Oh.
And it just it said, and it didn't say they did it on a piece. It literally says they did the whole length of the back. And so they would finish one length, but then you got to come back. You got to do the next row and the next row and the next row, right? But that's what this was built off of was your back. And so if something's going to be built off your back, but you don't get any of the proceeds, you don't get any of the pros, but you receive all the cons, you have to ask yourself, as we report, right? We've gone to other places now. We see who shall believe our report, right? Isaiah 43:1, Romans chapter 10, verse 16. Who shall believe Israel's report? If we have a report, that means that we reported over here, and we just set something in us. There was some conduit, there was some vessel, there was some person, there was some message, there was some Holy Spirit even that said, you know what, leave this port and go over here. And we went over to something that was greater, and we said, oh, like there's some free stuff over here. Oh, my marriage feels better over here. Wow, like my wife seems empowered, and I can actually hear, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I can hear my wife better in a free system. Like if I'm busy with everything else, like I can barely hear myself. Of course I'm not going to hear my wife. And that's kind of the trick of the enemy. We're getting divorces sometimes because we're thinking it's the person, and the reality is the marriage is not even in the right society. So if you're in a man, like that's what happened with COVID-19. COVID-19 hit. Oh, thank you for the love. Appreciate it. So COVID-19 hit. And when COVID-19 hit, what happened? COVID-19 hit, divorce rates were already around 50%. They went up to 70 something because people were like, wait a minute, I got to be in this system and I got to be around you. Like they couldn't take it because there was, but you have people like when COVID-19 hit for us, and then 2020 really when it started to hit and stuff like that financially and stuff, that was like probably the first time. I mean, I won't say the first time, but that was the most consecutive times that we started like really hitting like our groove, like started really seeing like it was about it. And we had always had, I give my wife credit, and hopefully myself some as well, however, like, we always said stuff like that. Oh yeah, I'm down for you, this and that. My wife met me when I was down in the dumps, and she was doing very well for herself, No, seriously, like, I was coming up the street. She met me when I was going through transitional home. So I wasn't, high, drunk or anything like that, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job.
You were in a veterans place?
Yeah, I was in a place for veterans to be able to help them to get off the street. And so like, but when push came to shove and we had to really depend on each other, and even when she lost her position at what she had, and we had to find each other, and then I got much better and stuff, and things were going together and things, but I'm still not where I necessarily want to be, but we had stuff together. She had already had the mind to sow into stuff as far as land and home and things like that, and we had made certain things or whatever because we were always looking at being together. And you can tell me whatever you want. You'll find out who somebody is. You'll find out if your culture is there. You'll find out if that husband and wife thing is real when, oh, wait a minute, like, stuff like that. But the Most High, he blessed us because even in the midst of that, we still really lived. We didn't really drop off as far as what we were actually doing. I won't say that we didn't drop off at all. That'd be a lie, but we didn't drop off. Like we still traveled. We still were able to go and do things. Matter of fact, we probably went out more than we ever did. We probably went to more parks. We probably did more foraging. We probably learned more. We probably had more honest discussions than we ever had before. And meanwhile, I was hearing from all these people, and I realized, yeah, we better talk about marriage more because like people were losing their marriages, and I'm sitting there thinking this is probably one of the best things that's happened to me, to where I know I've got this man, this woman, this wife. She's not just a woman; she's elevated to the highest level as far as wife, queen, and I'm feeling like I'm confident, even at the time still having to do side hustle and stuff, and I was probably I'm getting back in the line mode now, but anybody who was on the original Kofi _40, y'all know like I was putting out probably like easily 20 to 50 videos a day, still doing the side hustle, barely seeing my wife and child during the day, but when we saw each other, it was like it was like a hug. It was like a hug and a kiss just to be in each other's presence.
He has a special gift. I don't know how he has the capacity to be so available for people because he's always available for me. Like I know that like it's a very attractive quality. I don't know how you do it, and I know a lot of people. I know you've had conversations with him throughout the day, and he's texting and he's calling and different things like that. Like even through all his lion mode and being overly busy, he always makes time somehow. So I can't do it. I just start ignoring people. I don't know why I can't even do it. I can't.
No, but I say all that to say, that we found our culture when we had to be separated. I think that's the first time I've even looked at it like that. I don't know if you agree, because I'm just kind of saying that for the first time out loud. But I mean, I feel like we found each other more when it was like, either we were going to, because I won't say where and everything, and I won't give you all our business, but basically we could have decided to stay in a place where we would have been on lockdown where everybody else was, and we decided to just kind of roll out and do what we do, and that turned into what things have been turned into us now, and really has blessed us to where we can be mainstays in the community and see some other people that are becoming mainstays now too. And so that's nation building, going back to the beginning. I know, our family, we need to make sure that we eat. So I'm going to make sure that I unless you have something else you want to put on or go into, but those 4 things that she really set us up for out of Estrus, powerful. Once again, if we stop being drunk off of somebody else's system, and then get to a place to where we make sure that kings, queens, and truth are established.
And praising the Most High.
And praising the Most High, keeping the laws, etc. What can't we do?
Oh, thank you.
So, amen. She is. So that's all that I have. I don't know if you have anything else. So thank you. So we're going to be having ministerial staff and prayerfully more of my wife. Well, my wife comes on for special sessions, anyways, but prayerfully you'll see some of her somewhat from time to time in between.
This isn't my thing. This is his thing.
Yeah, she's not really. It's not really her thing. We thank you that I'm thankful to you for coming on tonight. Thank you, and I know you guys are thankful as well. We appreciate you for being with us tonight. So we're gonna go ahead and take our leave. Reminder: December 24th, Women in Red. December 31st, watch night service. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. We'll be on Kofi_42. Pretty much as far as live sessions, pretty much until I think Monday, and we'll go back to Kofi_43 and then Kofi_42. So just stay on here through Monday, and we'll see you guys.
I was just saying thank you to Sharice.
Oh, amen. So we'll see you guys. Thank you so much. I guess I'll see you guys at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time tomorrow. Thank you again for love, and we appreciate you all. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Kwame Yastel, rise up. Don't be afraid to. Barak Allah, Sham Yahava, may the blessings of the Most High be upon thee and your families as well. And we thank you. May your soul, may your Nachavash be at ease. And may you continue to love yourself and love the Most High. He created you to love Him and to love yourself. Might as well partake. But thank you. As always, this has been myself and my wife at SOC, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, Yashdel, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Today, Yashdel, Bavakasha. Have a great evening, and we shall see you in Bakwa or in the rising.
Shalom.